Hey everybody. I haven't done really many of these YouTube lives, and I'm going to start doing more. And I'm just getting started, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how I got started as an animal communicator. I think most people don't really know what animal communication is, but I think if you have pets, you're intrigued by the idea, or at least I know when I first heard about animal communication, I thought that was like be the most coolest thing ever is to be able to communicate with your pets, right? Like if my animal friends could hear me and I could talk to them, like that would be so awesome. Like I would be on cloud nine. Like that's how I felt about it when I first heard about it. So I don't know how you feel about it, and but I think as we're entering into this new earth that we're creating together, and we're leaving behind the old paradigm, and it's kicking and screaming all the way, right? We're thinking about what we're bringing to the earth, to the new earth, to the new world we're creating, and I'm reviving these ancient healing secrets, the ancient wisdom from our ancestors. And surely that has to do with nature, being connected to the earth, and really tapping into our own inner connection, our ability to communicate with all life, the using of our own gifts and talents, and the broadening of what we think may be possible for ourselves and for the world. So for me, that's about uniting humankind, humanity with the natural world. And I want to talk to you about how I got started with that. And before we get started, go ahead and subscribe or hit like the video so I can get more people on board, okay? And I'd like to keep you up to date with more classes and things that I'm going to be offering that will help you to begin to learn how to have a better relationship with your pets. So how I got started, I had a very special dog. In fact, he was my first own dog that I had as a human. And his name was Allie, and he was a black lab Doberman mix. And I got him from New Rochelle Animal Control. He was a rescue dog, and he was really very, very nice dog. And around age 6, he got real tenderness in his wrist, like his front paw. And I brought him to the vet and I had x-rays taken, and it was bone cancer. And when you hear the word cancer, it's scary. And the way the medical profession, including, veterinary medicine, it's all designed around approved treatments from big pharma and, drugs and surgery, radiation. That's pretty much what they're going to prescribe. There's no mention of anything else, any other treatment strategies that may or may not work. They don't tell you anything else. It's just simply that. So in my fear, because I think that's what it's all designed to do, is to put you in fear, in a state of fear, so that you go with what they're telling you to do. Well, I rejected what they said. I didn't want that for my dog. So I went to the Hoxie clinic in Tijuana, Mexico. He didn't come with me. I went, but I didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle. So long story longer, I was unable to save my dog's life. I didn't know enough about nutrition, and that was before the internet. We didn't have, well, it was before mainstream internet. It may existed, but I didn't have it yet. And very few people even had email or any of that. So it was 2000 when that was. And I was unable to save his life. So I ended up having, after all kinds of surgeries and things, I had to make the really tough choice of having to, have his life ended, which was really very compassionate, because the bone cancer spread from his front leg to his hind leg. He was not able to walk anymore, and that's a very poor quality of life. So that was the decision, and I really didn't understand death like I do now. But at the time, it was very difficult. I really struggled with it, and I was very, very unconsolable. I cried. I couldn't stop crying. And in my grief, I was able to, I don't know. I heard things. I don't know. I actually thought I was kind of losing my mind for a moment, but I heard him bark, and I was with my family members, and I asked them, "Do you hear that?" And they said, "No." And I was like, "That's Allie. He's barking." And I ran to the front door thinking like he's going to be there. Like, I was cracking up. He wasn't there, but I plain like totally heard him barking. Then I heard he had this chain link, like a necklace, slip chain lead. And I heard that jingling, and I thought, he's here. And I looked around and I couldn't find him. So I knew, something was going on beyond the normal senses, right? And scientists, physicists tell us that with our human brains and the way our eyes and et cetera are devised, that we only get a very small fraction of the great possibility of light frequencies that are available. We only see a very small window of that. So even though we can only see a small window, we think that's all that's there, but there's so much more that exists. Well, that is probably true for sound as well. And I was able to hear beyond what most humans can hear, and eventually learning how to do that beyond just the one sense. So in my grief, I was sure that I had seen and heard him, and I was very intrigued. It was like it was an opening for me. It was a very difficult time for me, very sad, very, very grief-stricken. But at the same time, with my struggle and my journey, it was this incredible opportunity that I was opening up to, was being able to communicate with animals. So I ended up, not right away, but I ended up taking a course with Penelope Smith at Kripalu Yoga Retreat Center in Massachusetts. And they have all kinds of different alternative healing and things there besides yoga. So it's a really wonderful place to learn. But I went there and I took a weekend workshop, and my skeptical mind, my surface mind, was saying, this is impossible, right? Like, I'm sitting in the class, I paid the money to be in the class, and yet my surface mind is denying, right? It's in total resistance. Oh, come on, this is a scam. Like, that's what I was thinking when I'm sitting there in the class. Like, this is ridiculous. You can't talk to animals, right? And then I kid you not, I participated in the class and stuff. And then the very next day, I was actually communicating with animals. And the reason why I know it's true is because Penelope had arranged for people in the community to come in with animal friends. And then we would have an opportunity as practitioners to communicate with these animals that we didn't know. And we didn't know the people. We didn't know anything about them. And then we would be able to present our findings at the end of, the questioning period. And then the person, the animal's human, would report back whether or not we were accurate. So I, being the brave lass that I am, raised my hand and I went first, because I was like, this is really, like, I think I really got this right. Like, I had no inhibition or no questioning in my mind. It was just free flow of information came through my mind. So, well, it's actually not just the mind, it's the whole entire body. But it came through, and I reported what I found, which the dog had told me, where they lived, and what the home was like, and what his life was like, and etc. Like, just basic things. And so I reported it back to the guy, and the guy looked at me and he said, "That's exactly right," he goes. So I was just so excited. He said, I do live, in this type of a house, and there is a big picture window, and my dog does jump on the couch and go back and forth as the squirrels are running by, etc. And then there was dating a woman, and she would come over, and the dog wanted to know why she didn't come over anymore. The guy said, no, I never told her. And he said he wished she would come over too. The guy missed her too. But it was very interesting. So I'm reporting this to you so maybe you could just get an understanding about the process. Like, it seems like this elusive, psychic ability that only special people have, but I want to show you that it's possible that I think everybody can do it on some level, but in order to become a professional communicator, you practice, you hone your abilities. And what we have to do is to really have very good self-care, because we have to maintain like a calmness and a stillness, very much like meditation, where we're open to keeping our mind open and available so that we can hear. And that isn't always easy to do. So, but that was my first class. And then I ended up taking more classes with Penelope, including traveling to Costa Rica and to the Bahamas and wild dolphin swim. And that was incredible. Those were incredible, really deeply enriching experiences to really be immersed with the earth and with the animals, the wild animals, and get healings and really connect on a very deep level. So I highly recommend, if you ever have an opportunity to do those sorts of things, to do them, because they're amazing. So that's my kind of like how I got started with all of this, but absolutely having a deep love in my heart for animals and really feeling, when I'm in their presence, this joy and this feeling of warmth and acceptance that you don't always feel with people, although it's possible that you can be around some people who are that way, who are more evolved and very loving. And that's the hope that I have, is that we balance humanity with the natural world, come together as one. And that may seem very, altruistic and simplistic, but I think it's possible. And, anytime anyone dares to dream for something great, it's a good thing. So that's my story about how I got started. And I wanted to invite you to come to my website. It's animalcommunicator.xyz. And if you're interested in having a session with me, I'd love to give you a session. You can take a look at what I have, depending on what your situation is. Oftentimes people are facing an animal who's transitioning, like I was telling you about how my dog was, it was time for him to go, and people aren't always sure. And oftentimes, they either go too early or too late. And it's good to see what the animal has to say about their timing. And also, you may have taken your animal to the veterinarian, and the veterinarian is unable to properly diagnose what's wrong. So having an animal communication session can help to pinpoint what the animal is experiencing, if they're able to communicate accurately. They don't always know, but generally they can have a good sense of what's wrong. They can say, I feel tightness in my chest, or, it's my neck, not my leg. They can always give some helpful information. Also, I also help people who have issues around behavior, because that's a big part of it, that animals are very misunderstood, especially dogs. And we don't understand the way they think. So using animal communication in combination with knowledge of behavior and how dogs and other animals think, we can come up with a plan to help put together, to mend your relationship with your animal friends, because we want to have really good relationships with them. We want them to really love us, but we have to understand where we're at with our own life, our own emotions, our own healing can interfere with our animals' lives. And so we want to come together. It's kind of a couples counseling, I guess you could say. And there is hope, as long as you're open and available and you're willing to do the work necessary to, release things that need to be let go of and embrace new ideas for healing. And that's a little bit about me. So the website again is animalcommunicator.xyz. I have a blog, and I'm going to be doing more of these sessions. And then I'm going to invite you we can do a Q&A afterwards. If you have questions, right today I'm the only one here, but I'm going to be doing these probably like on Mondays and Wednesdays and maybe another day. And so that's it for today. And my little birdie, can you see him? He's over there. His little white mask right there. That's Jasper. Jasper is my African gray, and we can talk with him another time. I find that most people don't really understand birds very much, but they're delightful companions. They really are very cheerful. In fact, people who have wild birds outside, that are obviously wild, not captive birds, they report higher levels of happiness in their life. So birds are very delightful pets, or even just to look out your window and see them. And I have a wonderful relationship with Jasper, and I'll tell you about him another time, but he was really had a difficult time, and now he's doing pretty good. So thanks for watching, and I've enjoyed speaking with you. So have a good one. Take care.